Hello, and welcome to Season 4 of the Prima Donna podcast. I'm Nat Grant, a composer and sound artist from Melbourne, Australia. And what follows are sonic portraits of three incredible Australian artists, their voices mixed with my music. This podcast was produced on the stolen lands of the people of the Kulin Nations, and I pay my respects to elders past and present. The third portrait in this season is of Gomeroi elder and documentary filmmaker Aunty Madeline McGrady. She made the first film on Black Deaths in Custody and was the first Indigenous person on the Australian Film Council. Her 1983 film We Fight documents the protests around the 1982 Commonwealth Games in Brisbane. She raised 5 kids on her own and is a tireless activist still, especially around deaths in custody and growing racism in Australia. So it's sort of part oral history, part sound art.
Oh, yeah.
So it's mostly the person telling their story.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously, so it's not a straight up interview.
No.
I'll leave out. But then I keep in some of my voice because I am here.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And the film went over to Germany Festival, film festival, a big festival over there. And so,
Which film?
the film I made, yeah. And so they Skyped me in here, and Gary Foley in Melbourne, and a couple of the young people up at Brisbane at the Games protest up there. It was great. And so we just, they had the film, when the film finished then, a live audience to talk to over in Germany. It was great, I loved it.
Because you were saying to me you really like to do the screenings yourself and be there and speak.
Yeah, I kind of like that, but long as they've got enough information to go with the film. But yeah, otherwise I'd say Gary's done one down in Melbourne, and because he was the main star, so he certainly knows how to talk about it. But yeah. I want to use the film now as to start up some debate and have a look at it. And that was in '82. So has there been any change?
Yeah.
Especially in Black Deaths in Custody, it's tripled. The stats. And, so hopefully.
Could you do some kind of little intro? I don't know what land we're on.
Oh,
Could
okay.
you tell the people listening?
Yeah, sure can. Yeah. Look, I'm Madeline McGrady, and I'm a Gomeroi elder. My country is further northwest, and it's right out in the sticks, and that's where I was born, up in the northwest area of the New England. We're now on Darganjung land, and it's a big community here. And I've been here now for 8 years, and I am really settling in. I love the this beautiful bush around here, and really enjoying being amongst the community here.
I read somewhere that you started making films when you were 14. Is that right?
Bit earlier than that,
Yeah.
yes, but round about,
Yeah.
yeah.
How did that come about?
Look, the film drive came about. We were having a protest at a place called Tamworth, and of course I was involved in a protest against the state government at the same time. So there was some media came to Tamworth, and one guy came along with a camera, and it really, I really took to it. I thought, wow, this looks good, and I had a look through the lens, and I really got stuck into it. And so in the end, he left the camera with me, and I was living in Tamworth at the time, and so I encouraged the kids to come over in the afternoon, and we got to play with it and learn, and mainly I suppose too because I was brought up on a mission, and so living on a mission, we were controlled by what was then set up in the I think it was starting in the early 30s, because Toomala mission, where I come from, was started in 1938. And so the state government then set up a big committee called the Aboriginal Protection Board, which consisted of 26 white men.
Yep.
Pretty heavy going, and so they were the ones who controlled our lives. And so Toomala in itself, and along with lots of others in New South Wales, lots of missions, were basically concentration camps. And so we were controlled by the police and the welfare and the mission managers who were white. And so we weren't allowed to leave. We couldn't. Gomeroi is in Queensland, which was 15 k's away, and that's where the doctors were. And we had to go there for shopping. So we always had to have a written permission from the manager, the white man, to leave the compound to go into town. So it's very hard, and I still say today that a lot of our people are sick today from the effects of that, because we didn't get proper medical treatment, and a lot of our people died for the wanting of it, and which was very, very sad, but that was part of the policies that this state government set up at the time.
And you have 5 children, is that right?
I do have 5 children, and they're all scattered right throughout the place, but they've done well. And the youngest, I had got 2 teachers who's got through, and I reared them up by myself in Sydney. I spent 20 years in Sydney, so I had to work and made sure my children were safe and looked after and got an education, and they've done really well. They're very independent, and they're involved in working for communities around the district. So yeah, very, very strong, and survivors they are. We had a big one of surviving to live in the city, which was very, very strange at the time, but we supported one another and had a lot of support from the family as well. And it was great. So they were literally bred and born around all the land rights campaigns at the time, and so they were very much aware of what was happening, and around black deaths in custody and the land rights campaigns too as well.
Yeah. Are they in any of your films?
They are in some of them as babies. The young guy I had when I went out to Weewar to do the first black deaths in custody, and the youngest was just 2 months old, I think, when I went out there. And so he is now 38 years of age, and that's how long I've been involved in the black deaths in custody for a long time. It's a big journey, and here we are still going.
So was this the first film that you made?
No, it's not.
Because that was 35 years ago.
Yes.
This is the same age as me.
Is it really? Oh, it's great. Have you seen it?
Yeah.
Oh, it really... Yeah. It got a bit damaged, and so I've got a friend over in LA who worked for 4 years to repair it and restore it, and it came up really well.
Yeah,
I'm really pleased with it. And what do you think?
Yeah, it's great because I didn't know much about that campaign.
Yeah.
And it seemed like such a strong campaign, such strong leadership, and so many women as part of the leadership of the campaign, which, it's really great to see.
It was, and the young guy who helped organise the screening and stuff, and he's in Sydney, but he, that was the first question. He was interviewing me, and he said, Aunty, there's one burning question, and it is the women involved. And I said, yes, they were the decision makers. I mean, the men supported them, of course, but I particularly look at the one where she's a fully qualified nurse when she first came there. They're from Cairns, and it's really mad how you meet up. And I met up with her 25 years later in the case, the Gomeroi case up in Brisbane. 25 years to the day I met up with her, but her statement at the time was, I came here because there was some government people who were there trying to offer money to stop us from doing illegal marches. So if they'd say, give you 10,000, will you stop having illegal? Yeah. And so, no, we said, we're here to fight, we're here to march and we'll do that. But she said, I came here and I left my 3 children at home and I came here for this reason, that I want to march today, she said, because I don't care if I get my head kicked in or a bullet in the head. I'm here to march today for my children and I hope that we can do that to make it better for them. What a strong statement, And just the fact that a lot of the questions I got asked the other night at the forum was that how did we manage to get all those different people to come? And, people came down from the Northern Territory, Tasmania, New Zealand, and
it was a huge undertaking, so organised.
It was great, and they camped there 2 weeks before the game started, so there was lots of interaction with people, and we didn't have any problems except the police. But that was great. Did you like that shot with those guys? But and just I think it was the best experience I had up there with all those people and going through what we did. But yeah. So it's not the first one. I think the first one I'd done was a film called. It was about the Land Rights Act. No, it was about the Act. For the land rights in 1981. And it was called Always Was, Always Will Be. And I wanted to make it and get it out there to the people, to the communities who really couldn't understand what the Act meant. Nobody does. Actually, it's hard to understand all the jargon that they put out in the Acts. And so I've done that purposely to take that out. And I just want to say that I was sitting there on the lounge and I was watching the Invasion Day rallies. And I was just so overwhelmed. And I rang my children up and said, have a look at this. And that one up there, the Peace Award up there, was nominated for the Human Rights Award for that film, Always Was. Now, I've never heard it until I made that in 1981. I'd done lots of things, and of course, I was just a quiet achiever and rearing up 5 kids at the same time by myself. It was, people say, well, how did you fit it all in? I asked myself that question today.
You just did it.
Just did it, and I think the drive was there. We were trying to make life better for our next generation. It was hard, but I've done lots of things since, of course, but I came out of poverty, and going to school on the mission where it was all white teachers and they taught us about Captain Cook. And I remember going home and my grandfather used to talk to me about culture and about lots of things. And I said, but grandfather, they're up there, the teachers are up there. They said this fella called Captain Cook was here first. And he used to sit there, used to shake. He said, no, my girl, that's how they used to talk. No, my girl. He said, that's not true. He said, we were here first. I took that up and I went back to that school and I said, hey, you fellas stop telling us lies. No, I wouldn't read the books. I said, no. So I suppose it all started back there. There's, it's coming out of the poverty and not having any support and because Toomala School was a no-average school, and then we had to go into Gomeroi to the white school, white fellas, and that's when I first had to confront racism.
Yep. And that must have been heartbreaking.
It was.
For your grandparents to have you come home and
it was
be repeating.
Yes. And so, I think I spent most of my life just trying to combat it and just what do? You know, we had to fist fight them. Not that I did, but others did.
The other kids?
Yeah, because, you know, it was hurting about being called niggers and bungs, and we didn't see any problem with it. You know, we're the same as you. Why are you saying this to us? And all that. Oh, it was a horrible time. It was hard. And you know, growing up in that time, our parents had to, you know, we had to get rations for food from the government. You had to line up with little bags and collect food through a little window. But yeah, I mean, racism doesn't go away, and I think this country is the worst.
Do you mean worse than it was 50 years ago?
Yeah. For a while, it sort of went underground. We didn't, we were, you know, getting abused and all that, but it was just like ignorance flared up, and they just were like ignoring us. And we thought it's gone, but now it came back alive and well, and in fact, worse. And so I see a lot of stuff that's happening, but it's based around racism at the highest level. And so, you know, our journeys that we've been through, but you know, people are saying, oh, we can't do anything. We can't get any support and funds from government. Well, how can we? When, you know, and I say to my kids, I say to everyone, don't have high expectations of getting any support or anything from this government and any other government, it doesn't matter who they are, because of the, you know, they write up constitutions. We're not even in the constitution, so they write up policies, and so don't have high expectations that you're going to get support from them. We are being treated as they put us in, as for one of the, and it's exactly right. That's how we get treated. So it's a hard one, and how do you tell your kids, you know? This Aboriginal organisation, you know, I get paid to be a consultant for them, just to talk on their behalf to the government departments, and I think there was about, the first one, there was about 15 to 20 departments, justice and health and education, all those people. And we had a group of youth there, and they danced first for all the visitors, and I had my to say, and then I spun around to them and I said, well, I didn't intend to, but you know, I knew that I could feel the pressures sitting in front of pressers there. And I said, well, I want you guys to learn and take all this in, because this is what you're going to be up against. These are the people who make decisions on your behalf, whether you get to go to a university or whether you get to be a pilot on a plane or whatever. These are the people. So I want you to take everything in, and wow, you know. I left them, that meeting that day was the first one, and I said, I just want to leave you with this quote, and it was said at an Aboriginal Women's Conference in Brisbane in the early 70s. And Aunt Lilla Watson said, she quoted and she said, if you come here to help me today, please go home. But if you come here to support me, then you may walk with me. So I left that with them. And at a later meeting, she said, oh, I remember that, what you said. But it's a hard slog. It really is, you know. I remember going to school at term one. We didn't have much food, and I was hungry. And so the teacher used to put us up the back to have a sleep until 3 o'clock, until we went home. You know, I want you to understand that these are some of the experiences we had, and so you come out of that sort of situation. I want to come out and I want to do something. I want to make things better for next generation and my children, you know. And so that's where the drive came. But I suppose with the communication and the filmmaking, and I think because we didn't know what was, we just lived in on our compound, our concentration camp, and we didn't have a clue what's happening outside. We weren't given any, you know, there was no papers, there was nothing, and so I think that in itself drove me to, you know, I'd done Radio Redfern. I worked with bands, and I took live bands up to Toowoomba and tried to give them something that they would never seen. You know, once I came to Sydney and lived, there was a whole different, you know, lots of things there that I could access. And once I did, I wanted to get it out there to, you know, the mob out there on the missions and that, which I did, you know. And it was great, you know. I got the privilege to work with No Fixed Address and us Bob and the bands from Adelaide, and yeah, it was just fantastic. So yeah, I think the drive of coming out of poverty and we've, you know, had so many calls for media to come, and there's so much happening, but we still didn't get, you know, we've written big reports, and I think Toowoomba must be the only one that's got so many reports written about it, and but you still don't get anything, you know, and it's still the same, you know.
Have you had support for any of your films?
This one, I suppose, I got the grant. It was the first time that anyone, you know, Aboriginal got a grant. Yeah. But you know, once I got around Sydney, I sat on the Australian Film Commission board, and then I got Gary to come on later. So we wanted to put a stop to, you know, that was a time when they used to make films and paint people black and all the rest of it, and so we wanted to put a stop to that one, and we did.
And when was that?
Gee, I think it was because I made that always was one at SPS, so that was in '81. They employed me to do that. It was in the 80s, I think, or late 70s. No, it must have been the 80s. It was in the 80s, so I was on there for 12 months. So we made some inroads into the film industry. But it was a real drive there for me to do, you know, to do something, because I knew how people weren't getting to have access. You know, I remember I used to go and do a talk at unis and tapes just to borrow a camera. To go and do some filming around Redfern and that sort of stuff, and the police brutality. Redfern. So I had to do some things like we couldn't just access it. You know, they didn't trust us because we're blackfellow ones. You know, I was blackfellow. So I had to write some sort of a note to say, hey, look, you know, I'll make sure I have this and all that. Yeah. So there's a lot of that stuff. I never got any real support. And this is why my films haven't been shown. I've got heaps there. I'll show you. They're in that box there. And no. And I wondered about that, you know. I mean, I had a lot of support in terms of... I first started with a group called the Filmmakers Co-op. It was a group of alternative filmmakers, and they were great. They gave us a lot of support, you know, and they still are. And Fabio's one of the greatest guys I've ever met. He's still there, you know. He goes to whatever's happening to up, he's there. And his family, you know, they were all involved, but none from anyone else. It was so hard, you know. But we got through and sorted a few things out. And now there's so much happening. I'm really proud to see that happening. You know, we broke some barriers down there.
How many films have you made?
Gee, there's a list. I made, I suppose There Always Was the first one. But in 1982 was a horror year for us. I was living out of Blacktown, out the west, and we were packed up and we went up to Brisbane, and we just got back to Sydney and still had the gear in the car. And I got a call to say there was a murder in Gomeroi, where I come from. And so we just dived in the car, and the gear's still there, and got us to put some things together while we went. So I filmed the murder there, I filmed what happened there, along with my friends and partner, and he got murdered because there was a right sort of a thing going, and he was innocent. He was standing and bang. And there was 3 men who was charged later with not murder, you know, but it was manslaughter. But it was murder, you know. These guys were standing on the back. It just reminded me of, you know, those guys standing on the back of trucks. They were going around the missions and where all Aboriginal people lived in Gomeroi, and those big long guns aiming like that. And so, you know, we didn't sleep. We could try and run around with a camera all night. But yes, so I filmed that, and there was a murder in Gomeroi, and we got that done, and I think we got home, and then we had to rush off to Weewar for the first black deaths in custody. And so after that, I said, oh gee, I think I want to do some comedy, because, you know, I love comedy. and Blackwell's one that won't us capture it, you know, it's in a secret sort of thing where we could be having the worst times, you know, yet someone will say, and then we get into our laughter, and it's all part of the therapy, and we do it unknowingly, we don't know, but yeah, it happens. And I wanted to capture some of that stuff, but I never got to do it because there's too much going on, you know. And then, of course, I think I made Always Was, Always Will Be. This one we made with other friends. We made one called Stop Police Racism after the Gomeroi one. And then I was just filming lots of stuff that was happening, lots of riots and all that kind of stuff. But also trying to encourage my mob to... I wanted to encourage women to go, you know, I used to do camera work with heavy big thing sitting on the shoulder. That was hard stuff, but it was all hands-on. No, I didn't go to film school. But that took me there to try and you know, I got with another Aboriginal guy in Sydney, and his name was Lester Bostock and Jerry Bostock, and they used to think that women should be at the sink, you know, and in the kitchen. And so I got them going, but in the end we worked together and got to the film school and wrote up some different policy and saying, hey, look, Aboriginal people don't have 30,000 to come here. Let's break down some of that stuff. And we did that. And so there was those sorts of things. And
what school was that?
The film school in Sydney.
Okay.
They call it AFTERS, I think. And we've had people go and do courses there as well, so which was good, you know. And you can see some progress happening then after, but it took a lot of work. I think after the Gomeroi murder, I took a job with the Corrective Services as a first time state liaison officer, and I wanted to get in there and see what happens, you know. And a lot of our people were being held. I went to the women's jail, and a lot of our people were being held back because they couldn't read or write, and they were just sitting around, you know. They're not ones to go up and say, hey, I don't know what you're saying or can't read that. But I got in there. I got on the big committees with all these people and started to opened it up a bit and got some of those people out, and helped, got into the education and set up classes inside the jails and that sort of stuff. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, so it's just the drive, I think, you know, to try and make life a little bit easier for our mob.
And I suppose being a woman as well, you just sort of alluded to it, but you've had like a double maybe set of barriers to a lot of things. Yes. Yeah.
But you hang in there and keep fighting. We used to laugh, and the kids used to say, I want 2 presents. I want a mummy's one and a daddy's one for you guys. We laugh about it, but it was hard. But the kids were good. I managed them where my daughter would work, and then if I had to have a break, then she'd she'd go back to work, and so we organised around that, and one was at uni, and so we got through it all, and we're fine. But it's just so hard. I ended up setting up a dental clinic just through the Sydney Uni. It took me 5 years, but this group from Sydney Uni came up to Gomeroi and had some meetings up there with me, and because there's generations of our kids never ever had any dental care. And, they used to go to all the white schools and leave our kids out, and so that's what I saw. And so it just sort of got me going, and I wrote to the people up in Cairns, the Aboriginal Medical Service up there, and they wrote back and sort of supported me. And then some people got involved from Sydney Uni, and there was two old white guys sitting in a pub, and the one said, I don't know what I wanted to spend my money on. And the other guy said, well, why don't you spend it on Aboriginal health or education? And that's what they did. And so now we were only doing the teeth. Because, all our kids, they were staying home from school because they had to, and once they got a toothache, they would go back to school. So we set up a little unit in the school where they'd done all the school children, and the teacher was so happy to get the kids back into school. But the whole community got the teeth done, and it was a happy community after. But it spread right throughout that part of the region there. It went to Mungandai and Gomeroi and all over the place, and now it's opened right up. And so we got our first dental guy from Gomeroi. He's just done 4 years, he's graduated. And so the younger ones are coming through, and they're doing health now, and it's opened it right up now, so I'm pretty pleased with that. So I'm really proud to see that happening.
Thank you so much. So what are you working on at the moment? Do you have any film projects in the works?
No, I had a little break there for a while because it was so hard to get funds. I couldn't get any, And what I thought about, maybe they thought that maybe I was making too much political stuff. I don't know. I was exposing lots of stuff, but I couldn't get any support from them. But no, I'm not working on anything, just helping out with organisations. And I'm working with some youth, a big group of youth over at Wyong. And I'm just loving it to see young people grow and develop into strong people, and they're so respectful. They see you coming and out the front, big hugs, and they holler all over you, and it's so it's just giving them some direction and building them up, and they just turn into beautiful young people, and I'm really pleased with what's happened. This other young woman is working with them. She does a terrific job. So they do art and culture, and we went away with 150, I think, and a group of people. So I think my passion is trying to... We used to go purposely out to educate the wider community, as I mean, Yeah. And that, we've done a lot of that, saying, look, our culture's very, very rich. Come and join us, We're not going to take anything from you. Just work with us and walk with us. That's all we're saying. You can't do it for us, but you can support us and walk with us. And but no, it's still the same. But I spent a lot of time out there trying to do that and educate them about it. But we didn't really, make much progress, I think. And now it's worse. So my young fellow, he's saying, well, I've got to go and educate my community where I'm living. But why should we do that? And I used to say to them, no, you get off your bum and go out there and you find out what's happening in Aboriginal communities, And I've got lots of good support from white people, and they're always there, the people who support us. And we understand that, we know what's going on, but we just want you to break down your barriers and come and...
But that's our work. You shouldn't have to beg.
That's what I said. We shouldn't have to do that, but still, it's not happening. But we'd just say, come and talk to us. We went up to dinner up at the club here, and I was walking past the poker machines, and this lady was standing there, and she must have thought that I was coming to stand near her, and she grabbed a bag really quickly because she looked up, and I walked over and said, "You don't really need to do that." I said, "I won't touch your bag." I said, "I have 12 in my family. We've never been in, we're clean skins. Our grandparents taught us, we've got to be good. And none of us we're all clean skinned. Don't know what it's like." He wasn't allowed to. Well, it wasn't there. There was no need, to do that. Of course, it's different now. But that's what we were taught, from the elders. And I said, "I wouldn't touch your bag, love." I said, we would never, no. But you still get it. Where you're standing in the queue and the person behind the bar, food bar, whatever it is, she'll serve the people behind you, and we just used to take it. But since I became aware, it hasn't changed, so... in those days I was talking about how they wrote up these policies, and they were so racist. And they tried to break down the cultural thing with families. So they put one family here, and of course the families were moving because the government initiative program where they said, of course we want to get a good education for our kids, we'll move to Tamworth or we'll move to Dubbo or whatever, and they were taking people out of the community. Yeah. And so they put one here and one 5 k's away. So it broke a lot of that down, and it's hard for the families. But you know what? A lot of those kids I look at today, they're so strong, and they came through that era, And when I went to uni and I was living in town, I started to work more with the communities. And anger started to build up in me, and because it was so racist. And, and so I just had this build-up of a thing, and it went right through my body, and all I wanted to do is go out and kill all the Christians and the white people. I wanted to do it, not that I would, but that was there, because of what they'd done to our family. Because I started to get educated. I just done a course through uni, and and I thought, how am I going to get back? What do I do? Look what they've done to our people. And of course, I got involved in all the massacres and all that stuff, and it was hard, but
it's a great motivator, and I think art is a really great tool.
Oh, it is, and that's why I think a lot of our young people are using art it's a karma. It's a karma to people. A lot of our young ones are great artists, and I love it. And so our kids do art. Everybody does art, Because on the mission too, the guys, they love, our mob love music, regardless, and they used to make their own instruments. And I saw this guy make this, it was, I don't know whether you would see, it's a big square tea box, they called them. It goes around like that, really big. It was just fine sort of board stuff. And they used to put things together, and I could still see that young guy. He made his own, like a boom, boom, boom sound,
Like a drum or with strings on it?
No, it didn't have strings. It just had one or two. It might be 2 strings across, diagonally like that.
Yeah.
And he used to, and it was, but it was like a boom, sound. It was like a drum, yeah. And so they always had guitars, and someone would have an accordion, and they used to have some, after you get through all that hard stuff, and they used to have bands. Always had a great band, and I remember they used to have these great dances on the mission, and We, sneak and have a look. but they had some fun and good times, And I used to grow their own vegetables, have gardens there. There was lots of water. It was, just hard, no employment. But sometimes throughout that mission era that I used to think, it was so hard that I think, how come we're different? Why is this happening to us? And then I thought, gee, I'd love to be white. I used to wish I was white, so I can have the good things like in town, And that, it really was reality when it hit me, that we're never going to have anything. And I think it was that sort of kind of drive that got me going, and I haven't stopped since. It's been a long one, but I love it. I really enjoy working with people. And my son's the same, and my daughter, they're all, I suppose they were brought up around the same. What else can you say? Yeah, but no, it's been good. So I suppose my aim is just to keep going and doing what I'm doing, and just hopefully that someone will change somewhere, and just make it a little bit easier for our next generation. I've got some films in unis and stuff because my young fella rang me from Lismore and said, "Hey Mum, look, guess what? I just found Always Worthy."
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so he's been around it all, but and it'll be open to everybody, I was talking to the young guy who organised the screening, and he's beautiful. He's 26, and he said, he's so proud that he met me, but he's on the phone to me every day. He's coming up to spend some time with me, and that's great. Whatever I can do to keep it going, and just try to, give some more education to the young people. That's what I'll be doing until I go to Dreamtime. I love seeing kids develop and grow. It'll help them to become strong citizens of the country, and it'll blow away a lot of this racism and stuff. I'm just hoping that the next generation will be a lot more better at it.
Yeah, I hope so too.
Yeah. When you look at all the inquiries that's been happening, the Royal Commission into Blackness in Custody, we've got some things like they've set up proper cells now where they can see the people, but the one that I'm going to next week, we went in there last year. It's 12 months about Rebecca, and they're going to give the findings. But the silly thing I'd done, of course, I'll just be really quick, and I go in there, and here's this little lady. She's sitting up by herself in this coroner's courtroom. And I looked over, and so practically like there was a whole side of police and detectives sitting. So I got up, naturally, and I got up and I looked and I counted every one of them, and all the bar people were in front, so I went and counted them as well, and I thought, wow, this is what this little old lady's
Up against.
Yeah. He said, "Is this real?" And it was. So she's there for her daughter. And what came out was when they arrested her 1 o'clock in the morning, took her to the cell, threw her in, and it's all on video that comes out in the inquiry. And she, some copper said that he got a phone call to say he heard that she had AIDS, so they wouldn't touch her. And so it was going, and they were in the charge, this is all shown, they were in the charge room all making chicken calls and laughing at her and all that kind of stuff, because they could see her in the cell. And then they went in about 4 o'clock, because they could see her breathing was going down. But by the time they did go in, she'd already passed. And it was, and here they were making all this, just gigging her. And it really hurt me, and I thought, wow, what are we up against here? So we had a little rally in the park before we went to the courtroom, And because I gave a bit of a talk and I said, you know, every police station in this country is like a torture chamber to every black person who goes into them. Because they go in and most of them don't come out. Look at those ones that happened in WA with the women. It's shocking, you know. So we're not human beings because they can kick and do whatever they want to us. And so that's why I say that they operate at the highest level, the police and corrective services. They treat us like nothing. They kick you around. And so I'm going in, so we're going to have the finding. So when we got into the court about Rebecca, I went up with the mum. She leaves 5 children, but there was a young white woman who looks after her children, and the mother wanted her to speak on her behalf. That was nice. And I just went to stand with the mum. So when it was finished, then I leaned over the coroner and I said, "Excuse me, I'd really like, could I have a say?" I'm very cheeky. And she said, "What would you want to say, Madeline?" And I said, "Oh, just to talk about the black death in custody." And she said, "Oh no, I don't think you should." Because she saw the video that morning before we went in. So she wasn't going to let me get up and talk about it. But I try. I don't miss an opportunity, you know. It's, you know, it's too political. Crazy. But that's the reality of what we're up against, you know, it's so hard.